overwhelmed their competition, hitting at least 50 points in all 3 games. Their plus minus is off the charts. They're leading the nation in scoring, but sadly, the 3 programs they have played are really, really weak this year, or at least at this point in the season. And Maryland, I think, is kind of sneaky good right now. I think people have kind of written off Maryland over the last couple of years. They've just been a team. I think most Big Ten programs would see Maryland on their schedule and say, this is going to be a win, or if you're a lower team, you're like, this is one we need to win, right? Because it's going to be kind of an iffy one. However, with Tagovailoa, a really strong cast of wideouts, Maryland right now is kind of sneaky good, and this is a great opportunity for themselves to announce themselves, on the national stage. I think people are curious. People are looking at Maryland, but they're not ready to commit right now. People are looking at Michigan, and they have committed, putting them all the way up at number 4. I think most of that is because of what they did last season and to an extent what they had returning. But this will be a real game where we'll get a better gauge of just how good this Michigan team is right now.
And with Maryland, if they win, this is a big win for Loxley, Coach Loxley, because he came from Alabama. He had a stint as a head coach at New Mexico State, had a problem with that, and now he's back here. He knows about the DMV and all that stuff. So this might be one of those big wins that put Maryland back on the map. But they haven't been on the map since they left the ACC.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I still, I grew up in ACC country, and I still think of them as an ACC team. And I'll look at the ACC basketball schedule. I'm like, well, when does Carolina play in Maryland? I'm like, that's right. They're in the Big Ten. And, I hope that move has worked out for them. To me, they're more at home in the ACC. It clearly hasn't worked out football-wise, but that it doesn't work out for many. Ask Nebraska and Rutgers how the football world is in the Big Ten these days.
And I do the same thing with baseball because the Astros are now in the American League. And every time I see the Astros play the Orioles, I'm like, oh, that's an interleague squad game. Wait a minute. They're in the American League now because I'm so used to them playing the Mets all the time. It's like, okay, I guess they're in the American League. Forget that idea. So let's bring in Adam. Adam, you got a question for
first of all, Rob, you're the only person from the Fox Sports telecast coverage of the PBA Tour I haven't met in person. I've met Dave Lamont. I met Dave Ryan last year and this year in Maine. So it's called If I Go to Maine Next Year, I hope to see you there.
I hope to be there. There's a Women's World Cup next summer.
I know. You're talking
might get in the way, but man, I love going to Portland.
One day our paths can cross up, somewhere at a PBA tournament. But I actually have a football question for you. You guys were in Lincoln, Nebraska last Saturday to see Oklahoma play Nebraska, and Oklahoma this year has something they haven't had in a while, and that's defense led by Brent Venables. So, Rob, do you see Oklahoma going very far in the Big 12, maybe getting to the semifinals?
Yeah, get back to the college football playoffs, which they've missed the last 2 years after all that early success. You're right. Defense has kind of been that Achilles heel, if you will, for Oklahoma. Great season, through the Big 12 play, but then when they get to the semifinals, they falter. And it always seems to kind of be the fact that the defense couldn't slow down the other team's offense. The offense is just fine. So it was interesting. Coach Meyer was talking about Oklahoma and Brent Venables coming in over the weekend. And his analogy was, sometimes you come into a program and you need to take the fire hose out, right? And you just need to, or my term was basically the flamethrower, right? You need to go Game of Thrones and just burn everything down. It's not working. But he used, the fire hose. And then sometimes it's just the garden hose, right? Stick your thumb on it and create a little extra turbulence and kind of clean stuff out. And sometimes just let it be and just do your little tweaks. And I think Oklahoma, and I agree with Urban, is it just needs these little tweaks. And those little tweaks are defense, whether that's recruiting, whether that's coaching, whether that's schematic. And I think a lot of it early on will be schematic. Brent Venables is a defensive guy. Coach was talking about the fact that Oklahoma is kind of getting away from a vanilla type defense and trying to create more chaos, trying to create more question marks for the quarterback going in. We clearly saw that with Nebraska over the weekend. Unfortunately, it was Nebraska. Nebraska scored first and scored last, but in between, I think they gave up 42 points. So, again, I'm not ready to hand the Big 12 title over to Oklahoma, but I'm certainly saying to myself, they're in the mix. Oklahoma State is sitting there lurking as well inside the top 10, and nobody's talking about the Cowboys right now. again, these are the things that we get early in the season when the AP poll comes out and we don't really know, who is what. I think we feel comfortable with the top three in some rotation is Georgia, Bama, and Ohio State. But after that, it's just full of question marks. So I still have question marks about Oklahoma. I want to see them go against a top level competition. I still have question marks about Michigan, and we'll get a lot of those answered this week.
Yeah, that's true. Real quick, what is your take on Nebraska? Basically just saying goodbye to Scott Frost. They should have got rid of him last year, and also in Arizona State with Herm Edwards getting fired in the end zone. That's bad.
You're seeing, more and more of these firings happening earlier and earlier in the season because these athletic directors know that this is going to impact recruiting and transfer portals and alumni, funds and things like that. I think both of those coaches were already on very short leashes. I think that's pretty well known. Herb, with what Coach Edwards had, hanging over his head with these potential sanctions coming in from the NCAA, really tough situation. Losing bad at home like that will cripple you. It's the same way that Frost went down. The Frost thing for me is, college sports is a lot of money, right? We see these numbers that are handed out, and Nebraska has a bye week this week. And you kind of say to yourself, how much damage would really be done from the moment they fired him to the moment after this bye week where you just part ways with him? Because I believe the number was $7.5 million that they essentially lost or something like that. So that's a big chunk of change. I mean, maybe not to the guys called Monday Night Football, it isn't, but for a guy like me, I think for most alumni out there, that's a big nut to swallow right there of money. So I'm curious why Trev Alberts and company maybe couldn't hold on a little bit longer. But if you've got a deep pocket alum who's ready to cough up the coin to offset that number and you just want to stop the bleeding and get that tourniquet on right away, then I have to understand that. And that Nebraska fan base is something else, man. They are loud. They are proud. They care about it. And I think we can all agree that college football is better when Nebraska is a major player in the scene.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you're a busy guy, but real quick, you still have that belt? Because I want to get that belt, the 24/7 belt from WWE. Do you have it?
That was a fleeting moment. I did not.
I was reading about it. I was like,
that was enough to pin it, take some pictures, and lose it. That is it.
I saw that. I was reading about it yet today. I was like, I'm going to ask him if you had the belt because I want to go.
I wish I did, man. I wish I did.
Well, you'll see Rob on the Big Dune kickoff at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? And then the game at 12:10 with Gus Johnson, and hopefully Gus Johnson's feeling better. Hopefully he's doing okay. Nice. So nice. I hope to see you Saturday, Rob, and have a good flight.
I'm just so grateful to be here.
Yeah. You had something going on this evening. You had some special cool thing you were doing. Explain to the folks on our program, what were you doing around 7 o'clock?
Oh, yeah. I mean, talking about the NFL and, one of my favorite parts about being in the NFL is doing some stuff like, we did tonight where my fellow offensive lineman, Joel Bitonio, who is up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. He organized this event for a lot of the underprivileged kids in the area to come and, took them to a store and were able to, take the kids out and go buy Christmas presents and, had some money for them where they could splurge on whatever they wanted to get. Doing stuff like that, I absolutely love it. It's really cool kind of seeing the looks on the kids' faces, when they're going around picking gifts. So I literally just walked through the door about 5 minutes ago. So perfect timing.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't want to get you on around 7 because Luke was telling me you had that special thing. I'm like, let's do it so you get your time to get home. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally understand about this stuff. But let's talk about it yesterday. I was asking you when you came on, tough loss to the Bengals. What was it like playing in the Battle of Ohio?
It's always cool, kind of the Battle of Ohio. We had their number for the previous 5 games that I was there up until this one. They're an awesome team. I mean, I think since we played them on Halloween and had the best of them on that night. And I think since then they've won every game since then, and got us yesterday. So I mean, they're a great team over there, and we'll see what happens for them the rest of the way. But I expect big things from them.
Yeah. Adam, you got a question for?
Yeah. Now, talk to us what it's like to play in front of the dog pound on Sunday afternoons.
I love it.
When I was a kid, I mean, every time I remember the Cleveland Browns, it was Bernie Kosar and the dog pound, and the dog pound always has some of the craziest fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, every week you see somebody dressed up in some crazy outfit, crazy costume going on over there in the stands, but they get rowdy. They have a great time, and especially when we're winning games and stuff. So I mean, it's it's an awesome crowd to play for, and and not even just at home. I've one thing since being in Cleveland since 2020 is how impressive they travel to games too. Every away game we go to, also you always see tons of Brown. And it's really impressive wherever we're at. They always have their contingency.
That's true. I got to ask you a question. When you were growing up, you're down in the DC area.
Mm-hmm.
Were you more Redskin guy, or were you more Ravens type guy, or did you like anybody else in besides?
Yeah, I was neither Commanders now.
Yeah, Commander.
I was neither Commanders or Ravens. I was a big Patriots fan.
Really?
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Okay.
That must be cool.
It was awesome. It was an awesome, 20-something years of fandom as a Patriots fan. I'm really happy my dad, being a New England guy, was able to raise us as Patriot fans to go in, see the team win 6 Super Bowls during my lifetime. So that was always a cool thing.
That's cool. And then did you get a chance to meet Tom Brady? Did you get a chance to meet him? Or
no. So unfortunately, I actually was put on injured reserve about 4 weeks ago. So technically my injured reserve time slot, is up this week. We'll see how things go.
Okay.
I'm feeling good. So, I mean, just take it day by day. But we played against the Buccaneers a couple weeks ago, and the entire season leading up to it, I was really excited, to be able to be on the same field as, my hero growing up, Tom Brady. Yeah. But unfortunately, couldn't control some things, and had to miss that one. But
man, that's
but at least we beat him. Yeah,
you did.
Yes, you did.
We're watching it here.
Yes, you sure did.
Yeah, heck of a win.
Yeah. And maybe one day you'll get a chance to be on the same field with him.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Both of us might be playing in 4 years from now, where the AFC and NFC meet again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was it like the last time you played against the Ravens? You were down here in Baltimore. It was a tough game. One of those tough AFC North battles, no matter what.
Yeah.
It seems like last week with the Ravens and Steelers, it came down to the last minute. It was a 2-point win. It seems like everybody wants to kill each other in the North and see who's leading the division afterwards. But what was it like playing in, coming home for, that weekend to Maryland, knowing that you got your family there and you got friends who probably give you a call, like, hey, Mike, can you go give me some tickets, dude?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said at the start of the show, one of the cool things about being in Cleveland is you have your yearly game in Maryland where, everybody could come see you. All my family's there. So I love it. I love every time we play in Baltimore. And, for me, it's always really cool because, I would, growing up, I'd go to, the Ravens games and stuff like that. And especially whenever the Patriots were in town, I mean, I'll never forget, it's funny because before the game, I was out there for pregame warmups and everything. And I was telling one of my buddies one of my teammates, I was like, yeah, I sat right there when the Patriots were undefeated and Rex Ryan called the timeout on that 4th and 1. And the Patriots went on to win the game. And, Bart Scott threw the flag up into the stands. Like, I was at that game. I was sitting right there. Nice. And stuff like that, it's really cool kind of being back in the stadium. And I mean, it's just an awesome atmosphere. Of course, we had a really close game earlier in the season. We had that Sunday night game last year, which was, the Ravens won that one also, but, it was such a cool environment for the night game. So yeah, no, I always look forward to being back down in Baltimore.
I got to ask you about your Terps. 7-5. Yeah, going to the going to Charlotte.
Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Playing some mayonnaise,
Yeah.
But they started out really good, and then all of a sudden they got in that mid, late October, November boom they go into sometimes, and you're like, what the heck's going on here? They were pounding people. I saw them take on Michigan State. They played Michigan real well.
Yeah, they fought with Michigan. They're right there with Ohio State.
Yeah.
I am excited because I can't remember the last time Maryland could win 2 bowl games in a row. I mean, it was way before I was there. I know that at least it was before when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really know much about the Duke Mayo Bowl, but I know NC State also had a pretty good season, so a good opponent to finish off the season and get a win there and kind of just only boost the program from there.
Exactly. Adam, you got
no, you said you were a Patriots fan growing up. Well, I'm from New England, so it's like
I see the Red Sox right there.
Yes, it's called. I am a huge Red Sox fan, Bruins fan. But tell us what it was like to play at the University of Maryland with the legacy that they've had going. They were an ACC school, now they're a Big Ten school. So, what was it like to play in front of all those crazy Terp fans on a Saturday afternoon during when you were in Maryland Terrapin?
Yeah, I mean, also, talking about NC State is, I remember the last season we were in the ACC which was my redshirt freshman year. NC State was the final game of the season that year. So a nice little bringing back the ACC rivalry. But no, it was awesome. I mean, I felt very fortunate to be able to have, a year playing when we were in the ACC and, seeing, Florida State and, all the schools there, and then, have 3 years in the Big Ten and be able to experience that. So I thought it was really cool, having kind of my redshirt year and redshirt freshman year at ACC and the 3 in the Big Ten, splitting time kind of down the middle. It was a really cool experience that I feel like not many people are able to experience 2 different conferences while staying with one team. So, that was pretty awesome.
That's great. Well, Michael, I'll let you go because I know you got a lot of stuff to do and you just got home and I know you want to relax and you got to get ready for a short week of practice because you got to play
Saturday. Yeah.
So thanks for taking some time tonight and good luck on Saturday. And if anybody in this area want to watch it, it's 4:00 on the NFL Network. It's on Channel 11 here in Baltimore. It's probably somewhere in Cleveland, probably one of those NBC stations. So it's going to hope you see Michael take on the Ravens.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Michael. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks, Michael.
See you. All right, that's Michael Dunn, the played for the Terps, and now he's with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, thanks for the folks at the Cleveland Browns to hook us up on that one. That was very nice of them to do that. So, folks, we're going to wrap up the show here. We'll just give you a program reminder. Put this on your calendar. Next Tuesday night, Pete Weber will be joining us here on the program, and then we'll put the bet away for our last show of 2022. We'll be on at 7:00 next Tuesday. Let me write that down real quick. At 7. Well, 7-1. Yeah,
I ain't making no predictions. I ain't going there with you. I'm just gonna say, yeah, they're winning.
Yeah, that's good.
So we'll see. Because now the real season starts from here on out. Except November, December. This is where it all starts and counts.
Yeah, exactly. So this week, just talk about being picked to be Miami's representative for the ACC honors. How did that all come about?
Oh man, I got a call from Rick Rimbert down there, and he says, of all the hurricanes that have been through, you have not been recognized like you should be. And he asked me if I'd represent the University of Miami as a legend of the ACC, and I said, of course, yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
You know, anything dealing with my school, I'm always happy to be a part of.
Yeah. Let's real quick before I let George ask a question. Let's talk about last week's Florida State game. I know you didn't want to talk about it. You know, my brother's a big Hurricane fan, and he kind of turned the game off after the second quarter. So, did you keep watching, or what's your take down there right now?
I did watch all the way till the last couple minutes, and I couldn't. Then that's when I just said, "Oh, you know." I just wanted to see how they were going to play through it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so when Van Dyke got hurt, even when he was playing, you know, they had that one great start in the game, and then next thing you know, the game went south.
Yeah.
It went too far south, and I don't know. They're a much better team than that, and I think I saw one of the coaches on Kane report saying, we want guys that want to play. I don't know how many minutes the game is. I mean, was it 48 minutes or 60 minutes? Pure football, and and I think he was saying there were some guys on there that wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I got out of it. So
right.
He said the portal will be busy. So,
yeah.
I'm not going to take that.
Yeah. My brother said the same thing, with bringing in Brown, the big tall guy, the quarterback, mm-hmm. and not having, and Garcia, and basically, I want to say garbage. It's like, because he lost in faith with the team 2 weeks ago in Virginia, right?
Well, I think both of those guys are very, very talented, no question about it. But they, the wide receivers are questionable. There's a lot of things offensively. That's a totally different offense. Last year, when last week SMU scored 77 points.
Wow.
You know why that is, right? Our offensive coordinator is their head coach. So some of the things that they did last year, and they're not doing this year. They got a whole new offense. It's really, injuries and it's just it hasn't been a good year. But the one thing they always wanted was effort. Mm-hmm. And so if they're not seeing the effort, I don't know the kids like they know them, and they know when they get 100% out of them when they're not. So. I think there's a great upside at the U, no question about it. It's Mario's first year there, and believe me, he'll get it turned around.
Exactly. Hey, George, you got a question for Chuck?
So, Chuck, 2 questions. One, has Miami ever asked you to come back and come and talk to the team in recent years? And 2, what was that moment like when you were inducted to the Vikings Ring of Honor?
Okay, about 3 years ago, I went down there. Several of us went down there and got to talk to the team then. Each of us got a few minutes to talk to them and, try to, that was when, who was there? Manny was there.
Right.
We got to talk to them then, and, they were, they were very responsive. I thought he had a good group of kids down there. They still do have a good group of kids down there. This football thing, man, it's the ultimate team sport. And if everybody's not dialed in, you're gonna have issues. And it seems like, right now anyway, I don't see a team that's totally dialed into what they got to do to be the best that they can be. And as far as going into the Ring of Honor, that was a great honor. Don't misunderstand me, but, going into the University of Miami Hall of Fame University of Miami's, Hall of Fame was big.
That's cool.
Bigger.
That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations on that. That's pretty cool. And you played back in the early 70s, and you had a big game against Maryland, right?
Oh, yeah. I did have a big game against Maryland that day, and my brother was there, my family was there, so it was a good experience back then. University of Miami for me was a great experience on the field, off the field. It was, I'm not saying it was perfect, but I'm saying I had a And great college experience down there.
That's good. Hey, Adam, you got a question?
Yeah. Now, Chuck, what was it like to play with a Hall of Fame quarterback like Fran Tarkington when you were with the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, Fran, of course, back in the day, the word on him was that, you can't be a successful quarterback in the NFL if you move around like he did. Well, Fran was, way before Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, Fran would just scramble to get away so he can buy enough time to throw the ball. But Fran was unique in his own way, and in our time when I played, there was not another quarterback that was like that. Maybe Roger Staubach, maybe a little bit, but Fran, was unique in that, he had a way of getting things done, and it wasn't traditional. And so I think that was the reason why I think Norm Van Brocklin got rid of him when he was here before. Because he wanted a straight drop back guy, and Fran was the guy that scrambled around and made things happen. But yeah, Fran was way before his time.
That's cool. Hey, Chuck, I know you played in the 70s with the Vikings, and you guys made it to the Super Bowl 4 times, and didn't come out the way you wanted to. But you still remember those games, and is there still excitement in those games?
The Vikings, the first Super Bowl the Vikings played in, I was in high school at home in Maryland watching it.
Right.
I happened to come up here in 73, and then from that point on, we went to three Super Bowls in 4 years. And so, those were great experiences there. Unfortunately, we didn't win them. And see, I will say this to me, from my perspective, when it comes to those games, never try to outthink yourself. I always feel like you got to do what got you there. And with us offensively, anyway, we always got away from what we did to get us there. We were always saying, like, for instance, we played Pittsburgh. They would say, oh, that daggone Joe Green, we can't come up there and do this and him. He'll shut it down. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, well, I got Ed White over here, the strongest guy in the NFL. Don't insult him by saying he can't. Let's challenge him to see what he can do. Mm-hmm. So, that was the part of my experience with the Vikings. Whenever we got into the Super Bowl, we were, instead of doing what we were great at, we started trying to change up things and thinking what we can do instead of challenging Pittsburgh or Oakland. Miami, of course, I thought was the best team we ever played against. But instead of challenging those guys to stop what we did, and most of the time they did, because they didn't stop what we did to get there. They stopped the things that they put in for that particular game. So it's always been question marks and always been wondering what if we did this the way we normally did it, would the outcome be different?
That's true. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for coming on the phone. And what are you doing lately out there? Are you at Frederick right now, or are you out in Minnesota?
No, I'm in Minnesota. I'm at my house in Minnesota. Actually, just got back from the Mall of America.
That's cool.
America. Hey, I went over there to pick up a few things for the house, but yeah, we're in a good place here. If you ever need to talk to us, I'm always here, available. I am on there. You can go to chuckformer44.com if you want to schedule us into any event you may have. If you want some memorabilia or any kind of things that we have on there, feel free to do it. We're out and about now. We're actually getting ready to get on the road and do a lot more stuff outside of the Minnesota area, maybe North, South Dakota, Iowa, anything. And we'll come anywhere.
Hey, it's like you'll be like, hey, I'll come to your town and you bring us free meal, right? And free food, and you're good to go, right?
Yeah, I'm good to go. So if anybody, wait a minute, say that again.
Hey, come to my town. You come you'll come to any town and you get some free food. People give you some free food. You're like, hey, I'll come to your house. Cook me some food. That's fine.
Well, okay. I tell you what, you're on the East Coast. Whenever I'm out there, let's try to put together a little something so we can meet all the. Maybe they got a Viking fan club out there. We can hook up with that. I'll come on out there. We can make something happen.
Yeah, I'll see. Like I'll take a look stick. Like I'm trying to. I just messed up the guy before with Boston College by accident. I'm like, sorry. I'm like, yeah.
Well, the trick is to have a last name that you can't mess up, like Duke.
Right.
That's a good one.
It is.
Nobody ever gets it wrong.
Yeah. So talk about 2 Sundays ago. I can't believe it was 2 Sundays ago. You were up there in Portland, Maine, getting ready to bowl in this Elias Cup final. You told people it was your last tour, your last on TV. You're going to come back there as a manager, right? Or are you managing, or are you just going to go?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
So Norm's going to be back. So
yeah. I'm just acknowledging that there are younger players that are more deserving than me at this moment.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this. We finished second, and it was a barn burner. So it wasn't like I was a horrible pick. But I just know that there are better selections out there, given my age and their youth. And I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm a manager first. And up until this point, I have been an excellent selection for the Dallas Strikers. And at this point, there's better out there. So I've already told my team, we're not doing any more Duke. And they're good with it. I mean, they look at me and they go, Norm, look at you. You stretched this out to the max. And I agree. I'm like, man, I could have quit 10 years ago and everybody been happy with it.
Yeah.
But I stretched it out like no tomorrow.
And you were supposed to retire in 2020, but this thing called the pandemic showed up. And you were like, wait a minute, should I take a couple more years to see how this thing works out? Because at that time, we didn't know what the world was going to be like. And this time, two years ago, we were all shut down, sitting at home trying to figure out if we're going to allow to go to the supermarket.
Right. And, the bowling centers were kind of like a safe haven where you could at least mask up and go get something done. And nobody locked the doors on you. And, that was a big – I didn't see it coming. No way could I see that coming.
Right.
And then right in the middle of it, I just looked around and everything in the world looked different all of a sudden. It looked more lonely. It looked more isolate. And then when somebody said, are you going to bowl? I said, I can't wait. This is terrible. Yeah. So, I was into it. But, it's not like I didn't have plenty to do. It's just I couldn't do any of that I had plenty of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had you on after the Masters this year, and that was almost like they were talking about on the show. Dave Ryan and Randy Peterson were talking about that was almost your fairy tale ending. If you didn't lose to Simonson there, you would have won your Masters title. That you were, I guess you won one before, right?
Yeah, I had won one, but that would have been a major, and that's primarily what will from this day forward. That's what your career is going to be. I guess compared to when Jason wins 13 majors or 14, whatever the heck, you can't even keep up with it, right?
Yeah.
One more major's a bunch. That's all I know. And so I'm still trying to get over that loss. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. We lost in the league, and then look at that ending, what I got to enjoy with those pros embracing me and showing me the love that they did. Nobody had to, and it could not have been scripted because he's likely going to have to throw that ball to win. In fact, we could have won in 3 matches and would have had another hour and a half to do a lot of nothing.
Right.
So for them to do that, and then that crowd, when they start chanting and it's so loud, there is no way you could have asked for a better ending for me, even though we just lost, and that was devastating. We're giving them 3 in a row. It's hard to change momentum in the game of bowling, right? You got to do it when you get the chance. And even though we failed, look at what I got to enjoy.
Right. I agree. And my girlfriend was asking, she was rooting for you because she's like, I love Norm, and I want Norm to win. I'm like, okay, we'll try to get Norm to win here. And we look.
Maybe that's why I carried that one that was right to that head pin face, and it struck. That's because she was sending me all the luck in the world. See there? It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And then for me, I know you really well. I know Kyle really well. And I'm sitting here going, okay, who do I need to win here? Because I like both of them. I'm sitting here going like, okay, if somebody wins, I'm hoping to get both of them on the program because I don't want to give one of them the wrong, the cold shoulder and say, oh, sorry, I didn't get you on the show because you didn't win.
You just got to root on the guy that's going to give you the best interview. So There you go.
Exactly. And Adam right now is shaking his head back and forth. So, Adam, talk about the experience real quick. You were there.
Oh, sure, I will. First of all, Norm, it was an honor and a pleasure, to see you throw your last ever bowling ball in person at Bayside Bowl. So, for the viewers who have never gone to Bayside Bowl and experienced what we've experienced, tell them why they need to go up there and see the PBA League. I mean, if this didn't bring more people up to me next year, then there's something wrong. I mean, what I saw was absolutely nuts. And I mean, that was the craziest ending I've ever seen. So tell people why they should go to see the PBA League at Bayside Bowl in Portland, Maine.
Well, yeah, it's certainly different. And the problem there is going to be a sellout. I think they reached that capacity this year. And
Oh, no.
Oh,
did we lose Norm?
He is an absolute superstar in Portland, Maine, and for good reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So getting tickets to Maine is going to be kind of tough. So try it early. And you're right. It's an atmosphere that, if you remember, a lot of our fans don't appreciate it very much. They think that it should be more like golf with the quiet signs and, hey, let's let the man at least throw instead of this big chant. Frosty, when Dave Watt could do the ball with his hair frosted that day, or they started chanting UPS.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Nobody could figure out what the heck is UPS, and they said, Low Shedder's wearing all brown today. And I just thought these people are just crazy, the things they come up with.
Exactly.
And God forbid if you have a birthday or something like that on main event, oh my gosh, it's never over for you.
Yeah, they're still celebrating your birthday, and it's like 3 weeks later. Like, okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Jesus. George, you got something for Norm?
I sure do. So, Norm, when I heard you were announcing your retirement, I was like, wow. We had just talked with you a couple weeks before that, or a month or so before that. And then I heard this news, and then I heard who you had your final match against. I'm like, Chris, first of all, Norm just announced his retirement. I said, second of all, he just lost the troop, right? Yeah. And I was sitting here, I'm like, it was like parallels of the universe coming together. It just clashed into one moment of a show that you were on with us. And you know what? People always know when the time is right. And you told us you would know when the time was right. And you did exactly that. You've been such an ambassador for the sport, Norm. Talking with you these last couple times, and just talking to you guys in general about bowling, is reinvigorated me into getting back into bowling. So I'm so excited for you.
Well, let me set the record straight, everyone. I have never announced retirement. I've never used the word. I don't like that word.
No.
Yes.
But Jason Belmonte announced my retirement, and it absolutely came with the commissioner's notice. In fact, the commissioner came to me and said, Norm, you told me you weren't retiring. I said, I'm not. He said, well, Jason Belmonte announced it today. I said, well, I can't help that. That's Jason. He said, well, doggone, we were going to do it.
Yep.
And he said, so right now, I'm just going to think that you're still not retired. And I said, no, I'm never retired. I'm just not entering any more events.
Yep.
So when people ask me, no, I'm not going to bowl anymore, especially not for a title. If it's for a title, I'm done preparing that hard to try to win events. It's after 41 years, my goodness, just to travel alone would send you into a desire to stop. But the work that it takes at 58 is just compounded.
Yeah.
And if the commissioner was to call and say, hey, we want you to come over here and throw some trick shots, or we want you to come over there and do a strike-a-thon or an exhibition or something, absolutely. My role from this point on is to gift to bowling as much as I can and try to repay some of that I'm indebted, that I will never pay back. But look what the sport has given me and afforded my family. And, you know, we do have sacrifices that we have to make, the time away from one another and everything. But my goodness, looking back, I say, yeah, that was absolutely miserably tough. Would I change it?
Right.
You know, probably not.
I agree. And also, and like I just heard that Commissioner Clark he put something on Facebook. He was trying to get you to go to Akron, Ohio.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
tournament champion.
I'm like thinking to myself, please don't be. No offense to Carmen Savino, okay? He's a legend of this game. He's such a nice guy to talk to. I talked to him a couple times on the phone, but I just felt like he was there until he couldn't even throw the bowling ball down the lane. And I'm like, please don't do that to Norm. You know,
that felt wrong to me. And you know, Johnny went out the same way at the tournament champions when neither of them made the cut, and the last ball they throw is the one that they get cut. And you know, the commissioner wanted that, and I told him, man, that's exactly what I don't. So here's what I told him. I said, look, if you and I were just to forget about this and just let things pan out, I guarantee you something's going to happen. It's going to be great. And 2 days later, they give me that send-off on national TV. No, I wouldn't have it any other way. In fact, I wish that all of the other players that have ever bowled got sent off like that.
Right.
I really did, because that was cool as heck. And the others seemed to me, you know, just lonely.
Yeah. It wasn't right for them. You know, it was like like you said, it was a shot they're going to get cut, and it was like, thanks for showing up. See you later. You know, we put you on Fox the next day. You know, as sitting there in the crowd waving at people, and it's like, it's like that's not a way to do it. You know, and what you did.
A couple of guys do a photo and post it or something. And I was on national TV with Wes Millard grabbing me and sucking all the air out of me.
And Wes talked about that last week. I had him on the program, and he was still in awe about it. And even Dave Ryan, he was like, that was the greatest. And Dave Ryan said, with all this stuff he's been broadcasting his whole life, that game. That was the greatest thing he ever did on TV. And he said, and plus watching Norm, and he was telling me about you. They were all crying. You know, Randy Peterson was crying. Dave Ryan was crying. Kelly was trying to find tissues for everybody. You know, and
you can't better that, right?
Yeah, you can't. And I'm sorry, that's better than Tom Brady. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know, what did Tom Brady do? You know, wow, he won a Super Bowl. But you were put on your shoulder by Wes Millard out the door. You know, you're onto the sunset, and now you're going to enjoy life, and you're going to be a manager in the league, and that's better than nothing, right?
Well, you know, and as long as I can stay healthy and desire to keep the position, I tell you, we have like an identity, the Dallas Strikers, and boy, everybody that is a striker for a year, we want to come back. I mean, Nick Payton and Brad Miller, until they got drafted, of course, by other teams, they were trying to figure out how in the world we were going to get back. I was trying to figure that out. It's just, it's kind of like a family of 5 or 6, depending on what year you're looking at. We don't bowl much of that, you know. Right. All of ours is individual. And so when we come together as a team, it's so much more special because it's new to us. We have to figure out how to do it.
Right, exactly. Well, Norm, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I love talking to you all the time. And don't be a stranger. You know, when we do this league thing again next year, we'll get the manager Duke on, and we'll do you do your game plan and what you need to do to win a ball game and all that stuff. You know, and maybe you have your bowling ball in your car, just in case there's somebody. You know, I have mine in my car, just in case there's somebody, you know, wants to go bowl.
Can you imagine how big my holes are going to be next year at the league? My hand in it.
Yeah, like, I can see it. I can see it now. Hold on, children. Let me go get my bowling ball. And you're going outside.
Yeah.
And
in closing, guys, I just want you to know Wes Millard is 6'5". I don't know. He's so huge. It's crazy. I can't get any of my fingers in either of his bowling ball holes. Okay. Yeah. My hand is bigger than his, longer than his, and everything. So when I quit bowling and then my hand goes back down to like it's supposed to be, it's going to be real small. So I think the bowling with my balls there at least are out. I'll use Wes's.
Yes. Well, I'll talk to my mother about giving you some babysitting money. So I'll talk.
That boy.
I'll support her this weekend. But thank you so much for being a guest on our show, and we're so proud of you. I know you wish you won a title. I think that would have been better to win, but going out on TV was probably the best thing you ever did. And enjoy the rest of the summer and relax and do stuff around the house and be that father, and do like all those I need to do list things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, we thank you very, very much for covering bowling. And listen, anytime you want my opinion on anything, if something happens on TV, you want my opinion, call me up.
Oh, we'll probably get you on next year. We'll have Norm's analyzing Jason and maybe when he's retiring.
Yeah, I want to do Simo.
Okay.
All right, Norm. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
All right, see you. Bye.
What a great guy, Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this to all the viewers that are watching. If you've never gone to a PBA tour event and you want to go, I highly recommend you go. I mean, all these guys you see on TV are just as nice in person. They'll sign bowling pins.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sign bowling balls. They'll take pictures. I mean, it's like a family atmosphere, and how Norm went off, him.
But, so anyway, what's your you can see George is wearing his pinstripes tonight. Yeah, is that a Derek Jeter jersey?
Oh no, nope.
Who is it?
It's a Mark Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira. I don't know. You got a Baltimore kid on you? That's really interesting there, Chief.
And I have my Florida State gear.
Exactly. Florida State. And hey, the Braves are knocking at the door.
There. I have my Florida State hat on.
Nice. That's nice. We'll bring in Dave here. I know Dave is sitting there patiently. Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Chris, good. Adam, George, nice to be with you guys.
Thanks for coming on tonight.
Sure.
Appreciate you coming on. You're getting set for a big trip week 1 over to Ireland. So first of all, you all set? Got your passport? Got all that information that people need to know if you're good to go? And
well, I got the passport. That part was not an issue for me. But I guess it's all going to be a question of adjusting to the time change and flying overnight over to Ireland, which I think I can. I'm young enough to handle it, but some of these football players, they can mess with their body clocks. So I'm sure that they've got some plans. Both the coaches, Pat Fitzgerald and Scott Frost, have their plan to get these guys on a normal routine when they get over there, because that's probably a big part of it is dealing with those challenges.
Yeah, talk about this game, Big Ten. Doing this game came out last year. They didn't play one a couple of years ago with Notre Dame and Navy because of COVID. Now they're going to do you guys as truly the first one since I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. It's been a long time.
Well, yeah, you know what? Illinois and Nebraska were supposed to play this game in 2020, and obviously COVID took care of that. So Northwestern was presented with the opportunity. This is their home game, and so they took the chance. They said, "Yeah, we'll take that opportunity and go to Ireland and play there." Pat Fitzgerald has some ancestry there, so I'm sure for him it's a really cool thing. And I think it's the commissioner Kevin Warren was talking about this at Big Ten Media Days today. A lot of this, including some of the additional travel that's going to come up with USC and UCLA coming into the conference, is about providing athletes with opportunities. And certainly going to Dublin is a great opportunity for both Northwestern and Nebraska. There you see Aviva Stadium. It's a rugby stadium. It's supposed to be a beautiful place from what I've heard from Pat Fitzgerald. He's been over there, I think, a couple of times now. And Northwestern has had a number of trips over there on site surveys. And so they say it should be a really good venue for a game. I don't know what it's going to be like to broadcast there, but that's really the least, or should be the least of their concerns. It's really about what kind of experience is going to be for the players and for the fans. And apparently the interest is pretty high in Dublin for this game, and I think the tickets have sold fairly well. So I think it'll be a really cool experience. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. George, you got something for Dave?
Well, Dave, we could check one question off the box that we all had, whether the media is going to go or not. So it's good to hear that you're getting to go, get a chance on the road and getting over to Dublin. Wish I was going. I'm of Irish descent, but it's beautiful over there. The Big Ten. I mean, it's kind of hard. Typically when you kick off the season, you're not going right into your conference schedule. You have a couple that build up to it, and now right out of the gate here, Northwestern is, going to play Nebraska. I mean, it's put your big boy pants on and go play today. There's no thinking that you can just look past Nebraska game one.
Well, actually, I think that this is now, I want to say 3 times in 4 years that Northwestern has opened with a Big Ten game. Last year, they had a game at home with Michigan State. 2 years ago, you guys might remember this, they played Maryland in Evanston to start the season. And they played at Purdue on a Thursday night a couple of years before that. So personally, I like it. I mean, I think it certainly gets your attention right from the start. And Northwestern under Pat Fitzgerald has traditionally started the season pretty well. They didn't last year against Michigan State, but for the most part, they've done well in their openers. And it's the kind of situation where you're playing not only a Big Ten game, but you're playing a divisional game right off the bat. And they've played very well against Nebraska since Nebraska came into the Big Ten in 2011. Not that some other schools in the Big Ten haven't played well against them as well, but Northwestern's had a pretty good series with them. And last year they played a night game in Lincoln and got demolished. And so I think that there's that aspect to this game for Northwestern. It's a division game. There's some payback involved. It's your opener. And I think they're kind of approaching it almost as a preseason bowl game. They didn't go to a bowl last year. It was just I believe the 5th time in 15 or 16 years under Pat Fitzgerald, they didn't go to a bowl. So it was really an exceptionally unkind year for them. And, so I think they're treating this maybe as a little bit of a preseason bowl game and hopefully get them in that kind of a mode where they carry it over to the regular season. They get a bye week and then they get 3 non-conference games all at home. So if you win this game, you have a chance to set yourself up for a pretty nice start to the season.
Yeah. Dave, what happened to Northwestern last year? Because they went to that Citrus Bowl. They beat Auburn. Seemed like everything was going to go rolling pretty well. And then last year, everything just went down south. It seems like every other year, Northwestern's good. And then all of a sudden, they have a bad year. And then it's back up to being good again. And then it's like a stock market. It's like we're good, we're bad, we're good, we're bad. Why can't they consistently get that, 5 good years in a row?
Remember the San Francisco Giants were doing this a few years ago? They'd only win the World Series in, was it odd or even numbered years? And, or the NFC would win the Super Bowl in the even years. I mean, it's kind of been that way. They won the Big Ten West in 2018. They went 3-9 in 2019. They won the Big Ten West in 2020. They went 3-9 in 2021. I think that those 2 bad seasons were very different. I think in 2019 their defense was good, and I think this was the game in Nebraska I was alluding to out in Lincoln. But last year they had a very young defense. They lost a lot of guys off what was a very good defensive team in 2020 and had a lot of youth out there. And the common denominator in 2019 and 21 was they had inconsistent play at quarterback, and they just couldn't find that guy, whether it was because of injury or inconsistency or a combination of both. And I think that's probably more to it. If they'd had a quarterback in 2019, they wouldn't have gone 3-9 if they'd found consistency at that position. And they had the same problem last year. I think the difference for them going into this season, and I don't think it would be right now, not knowing who their quarterback is going to be and not having seen them practice yet. I think they start tomorrow. It's tough to say they're going to bounce back and win the Big Ten West again. But I do think they're going to be improved because they played a lot of young guys on defense last year. They weren't bad. They just were young. And I think that those guys now with some experience should take a step this year. And I think they feel better about their quarterback situation. Ryan Helinski, a transfer from South Carolina, came in last year during spring football. And so he kind of was playing catch up through much of the season. And he finally got his opportunity in their first road game at Duke, which things got ugly for them there. They pulled their starter, Hunter Johnson. And Helinski was kind of in and out from that point on in the season. Had some good games and had some games where he struggled. They lost the guy who would have been their starting running back to an injury for the season during preseason camp. And they had some injuries on the offensive line, too. I think they're a lot better in those areas this year. And again, I think they're more experienced defensively, and I think that'll help.
Hey, Adam, you have any questions for
Dave? Yeah.